Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we've got tons of news to be talking about. We're going to be talking about all the news that came out of the quarterly investors call, including how many subscribers they've got, also a big update on general entertainment. We'll also be talking about content that's being removed from Netflix and probably heading our way to Disney Plus. We're going to be talking about all of the stuff that was announced at the Television Critics Awards. We've got other stuff to be talking about. Literally, it feels like we've had more news this week than we did during Disney Plus Day. It has been a crazy, been just pretty crazy with how it's all going. So let's jump into it. So let's start off with the investors call because that's the main one. So Disney hit 129.8 million subscribers globally. So that's up about 11 million on this time on the last quarter. They actually got a little bit more of a breakdown of how it all worked out. So there was 129.8 million subscribers globally. In the US and Canada, there's 42.9 million. So this is as of the 1st of January. Then in international, excluding Disney Plus Hotstar, it was 41 million. And then, so that's just basically not including US and Canada. And then all of that combined was 84 million. And then Hotstar alone is 45.9 million. So, we're at a point now where like domestic US, Canada is they're all around about the 40. And then you got this, they're all around about the 40 each. ESPN Plus also grew to 21.3 million subscribers in the US, while Hulu now has 45.2 million subscribers, of which 4.3 million of them are the live TV one. It's expected that the boost to the Disney Plus and ESPN did come a little bit from them adding them to the live TV bundle, so that might have given them like an extra million or two. But also, they did launch Disney Plus in Taiwan, Hong Kong, and also in South Korea. So there's a bit of a country boost in there as well. But overall, the stocks were up. The general consensus from shareholders was great. They had more money. The parks were all open. The box office is back a bit. Stocks went up. And, generally, they did enough to because there was a little bit of pressure, I think, on this one, especially after the Netflix one where the stocks tanked. The stocks for Disney did really well. So it's a good quarter for them.
Yeah. I won't pretend I understand quarterly calls or what makes stocks go up or down, but at least from the consumer perspective, it sounded like it was a very impressive. It's the last 9 or 12 months, actually. Yeah. I know quarterly is only 3 months, but these trends occur over long periods of time. We can't look at them in isolation.
Well, they have, I mean, they do say like the subscriber growth is very much, it's not linear. It doesn't kind of go in a straight line. I suspect this next quarter will be a bit lower because it doesn't look like we're going to get any new countries launched in that period. But there might be a big boost in the summer when they do like 40 plus countries. So there could be a big boost later down the line.
And then you see smaller boosts when major content releases come in. Obviously, Boba Fett probably boosted things up. It came right after the holidays, so people probably got gift cards for subscriptions from Christmas and such, and they would have activated them towards the end. Things like that.
But also just people just not leaving. That's the other thing as well. Just people not leaving. So on that same day, they did announce that West Side Story is coming to Disney Plus on March the 2nd. Pretty much everywhere, I think Japan and somewhere else isn't getting it until later in the month. But that's going to be a big release. Obviously, it got nominated for I think it was 7 Oscars. A lot of buzz around that movie. So that was a big announcement for that day. Also, as we did talk about last week, they did add some seasons of Blackish. Didn't release all 7 that they said they would do. They included Grownish, Snowdroppers dropped. We're going to see a lot more of this as well, because not only did Bob Chapek say about that, he also went on to say that he believes that original content from their core brands is going to drive more subscribers. But they've realized that Disney Plus needs more general entertainment content, since over 50% of their Disney Plus subscribers coming from households without children. And so they know that they need more content for adults. He went on to say, so on the Disney Plus side, you mentioned that there are roughly 1/3 penetrated. We still have headroom in each of our major franchises in terms of those viewers. So we're not nearly tapped out in those major franchises. So someone identifies as a Lucas fan, Star Wars, or Disney fan, there'll be more of that. He also went on to say, as I said, that they just generally feel like general entertainment is just going to continue to be something. They didn't really mention really how they're going to grow it. There was no plan, but there's been other things that have been happening this week which kind of lean into that one there. So there's a lot of stuff about general entertainment that leads on to a little bit of an issue that's led with Hulu, but also with Netflix. Yesterday it was revealed that a whole host of content from Netflix is due to expire at the end of the month, including some FX shows like American Horror Stories, but also Marvel shows. Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but Defenders, Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, etc. They are all leaving Netflix. Got the whole internet in a buzz. A whole load of people were excited about this one because this was almost like the thing is, well, you can't take Netflix originals away. That's because Netflix originals don't necessarily mean that they're owned by Netflix. They're just exclusive there. So they're going to be going. So there's a whole host of movies. It looks like there's been some deal done to get some content back. It doesn't include like some of the big shows like Grey's Anatomy or Criminal Minds, but this has led to a huge conversation about what's going to happen with the Marvel shows. Are they too mature for Disney Plus in the US? Internationally, it's not going to make any difference. We're going to end up seeing Daredevil and Punisher and stuff here in the UK and Australia for sure. I don't even have a thought in my mind that they're not going to arrive. There might be a delay. There might have to be a time period that they can't. But the US is the issue. Because they're going to push the boundaries because these are not rated 14. They're much older than that. So this is going to be an issue. Interesting enough, there was literally an interview with Empire magazine with Kevin Feige this week, and he says that Moon Knight is brutal and they are really pushing the boundaries. Now I'm thinking, is this the way that they can use Marvel as the push up the boundaries territory? Let's put the 16 and the 16 or the 18 bracket into place into the US and use Marvel as the core way of doing it, because Marvel fans will be much more willing to accept it. I think I just feel like if they turn around and go, yeah, you're going to get Moon Knight, which is TV 16, but you're also going to get Daredevil and the Punisher. I think that will fly as a way of embracing rather than just doing a star launch. I think they're going to lean in with the Marvel stuff first. What about you?
I agree. That's probably the safest way forward. A lot of people who have Disney Plus will have already seen the various Defender series. They'll already know what the content is. And I think the fact that it is Marvel properties will kind of override the common we don't want this on Disney Plus narrative that people have. There will still be people, obviously, who don't want it. It's too bloody. They curse, things like that. But I think this will start shifting opinions towards, yes, we can have more mature content on Disney Plus than just, Mickey's Funhouse and things like that.
Yeah, and I feel like Marvel is it could be a key way of doing it, because people might be more willing to accept it because it's a bit more fantasy. Opens up the door then for like MODOK and Hellstrom and maybe Hitmonkey and Deadpool to slide over afterwards and kind of give again a little bit more. Logan, those kind of movies could really help fill out Disney Plus, and they do that with Marvel, and they keep building up this general entertainment. I think we're going to see something. I think that, to me, I'm looking at the reaction that I've seen, like to when like Americans have seen our commercials for like Pam and Tommy and the Kardashians, where there's just a straight up no. But ironically, something violent and like with Marvel doesn't have that same reaction as it does like with like sex and romance and stuff. So there's a very kind of different way of dealing with it, and I think Marvel might be the back door to. And also, that would be if you're getting that and Shield, that's a big drop of content. That will really fill out Disney Plus.
Yeah, that is obviously the main advantage to it. Is it's a lot of content. There's 36 episodes of Daredevil and Jessica Jones, 24 of Iron Fist, and so on. And then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has 7 or 8 seasons. Yeah, there's a lot of content dropping in there. But yeah, it's true. For whatever reason, violence and sexuality are viewed completely differently, and we're perfectly fine with Punisher just like turning Jigsaw into, well, a jigsaw puzzle, and then even the talk of like Pam and Tommy and what happened with them is like, no, that's taboo. You can't talk about it. Granted, that second episode maybe push that boundary a little more than most, but the point is the conversations around the two are very different.
Yeah. So it's the fact as well, it's not just like me saying this. This has then been picked up by all the major trades, all the major outlets. I've all been doing this like, we, like, there's a lot of people that have had like that instant reaction of, no, it's too violent, put it on Hulu. And it's like, but I think Bob Iger or Bob Chapek's comments about general entertainment has thrown everybody. And the actions that Disney have been taking in the US in the last 6 weeks are really indicating, like, if you'd asked me this like before Christmas, I'd have said just straight up, well, I can't see them doing it. It's going to go to Hulu. But their actions in the last 6 weeks have really just been like, this is a 50-50. I would like to call it right now. My gut says they're going to do it and use this as the way of adding up those. And I could just see it in that press release of this being like, oh, and we're giving you more, but there's more parental controls, and just selling it around Marvel. And especially like with Kingpin being back for Hawkeye series, and we've got Matt Murdock coming up in the She-Hulk series. They're interconnected now, and I just feel like now this is going to be a way of doing it, of adding it up.
It's a pretty clever way of doing it, honestly. I think people, as we said, will be more open to the idea of it being Marvel. And I think a lot of people who might otherwise be against it will be okay with getting these back because of Matt Murdock, potentially getting some of the other characters. It'd be great to see Jessica Jones again. Heck, even Luke Cage. I know a lot of people didn't like Iron Fist, but
I need to watch the second season, so I know when they drop on Disney Plus, I think that will give me the urge to kind of go back and try them again. But also, if Moon Knight is a little bit pushing the boundaries a little bit as well, it just feels, especially like in the US, you're going to have that warning that comes, because we had it when they engaged Star, where you had to like turn it on when you got it. And so there'll be like a flash come up and saying there were 18 certificates or 16 stuff. So if they tie it in with Marvel, they've got a much better chance than if they go, here's Star. Because I think we're going to go into Star through the back door at this point. Yeah. This is how it's feeling.
Yeah, they're trying to do it gradually rather than all at once that they had over in the UK. And that probably is the better approach here. There's something to be said for just ripping off the Band-Aid and just going, here's everything. Here's Deadpool, here's The Walking Dead, Alien, and Predator. But yeah, doing it inch by inch kind of will work better here.
I said this is it's a bit like when you're trying to boil a frog. If you put them in hot water, if you put them in a pan and slowly heat them up, they don't jump out. If you put them in boiling hot water, they will jump out. So that's the kind of thing I'm feeling like now with this. It's very interesting. All my things I've ever thought about, like saying with, this now is going to Disney Plus and this is now going to Hulu. I think it's all going to get a little bit more tricky.
It's going to move more over towards Disney Plus, but it'll probably depend on the origination of the series as well. And similarly, I wouldn't be surprised if the Hulu shows, the ones that were on Freeform and so on, will also eventually make the jump over as well.
Yeah.
I think that will be a separate announcement, because it'll be something to make people care when there's another lull coming up. Because right now, with Boba Fett ending this week, we're currently in a short lull as well.
Yeah,
it's a small one, but
it's in some ways it's not, because you got Free Guy next week, you got West Side Story the week after, you've got Turning Red, you've got and if they throw in a load of Marvel shows, I'm sure that will just, I in some ways just like do the whole dump on the 1st of March would be incredible to do that. I don't know if it is it a Wednesday?
I think that's but that's my point.
Tuesday is the second is there.
Yeah, we'll see. But that's the point, though. The movies are good, and obviously I'll be watching all 3 of them. Free Guy was a really fun movie, and the new ones will be great. But in terms of quantity of content, we are kind of between stuff,
Yeah.
at least until what? Till Obi-Wan, which we'll talk about in a,
Well, we got
bit.
Moon Knight on the 30th
That's
of March. So you got Moon Knight kicking in. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. There was another interesting thing that came out this past week. Apparently, Comcast is close to finalizing a deal to remove NBC content from Hulu. This was from the Wall Street Journal. Now, according to the deal that they signed back in 2019, when Disney brought Fox, there's a number of things in place that means that Disney can buy out Hulu stake, or the 33% stake, by 2024. One of the things that was in that contract was that 3 years from that date, which is around now, they could terminate most of its content license agreements, which means now that they can start removing shows like Saturday Night Live and The Voice in terms of the live stuff that comes in. They haven't officially announced anything yet, but the deadline was apparently yesterday. And they're all the big chiefs are kind of all saying that this content is going to start getting removed because they need to build up Peacock. So this could again be a big kind of slice into Hulu, because if they're losing all of that content, and then they start losing things like the WWE, and then they start sharing stuff with Disney Plus, essentially they're devaluing Hulu to a little bit, but also there's a lot of stuff moving around at the minute. And with Disney like buying out Netflix's content that they've got, there's things moving around a lot on this.
Yeah, and it's going to be give and take across the board. So right now the news is about what's being removed from Hulu. There's something being given back. I don't know what it is. It might just be an agreement to move up the merger date, or the buy sell date for Hulu shares. And it might be a content retrieval. Again, mentioning things like, Peacock doesn't really have any straight up Marvel or Disney content, but there will be something given back.
Well, I think ultimately, the thing of them being able to pull the content, that's entirely on Comcast. It's got nothing. Disney don't have any say in that. Comcast can say, like, we're going to be pulling it back, and that's up to Comcast. Disney have no control over that one.
That is true. However, even in the world of big business, you do have to do things in good faith. So they're perfectly within their rights to say, we're just yanking everything and good luck.
Yeah.
But even with Hulu eventually going strictly to Disney, these companies still have to work together on other things, and they're going to want to keep those good relations.
Yeah, apparently not all the NBC content would go with this deal. There's some library stuff that they might, but basically that whole kind of day after stuff would just go. They wouldn't be getting that anymore. So I think that's the big key for Hulu, to lose access to being that day after show. I think that's something that's what Hulu's generally known for, is next day on demand, and that's kind of going to be losing a little bit of that one. So we're going to have to wait and see. We'll hopefully have that one confirmed hopefully next week. But let's shift on to, also on the same investors call, they then also announced that Obi-Wan Kenobi, the new series, is going to be coming to Disney Plus on May the 25th. We're getting new episodes then. We got this new poster. I suspect trailer Super Bowl. I'm pretty much sure they've got to do something. If that's the best time to kind of reveal this thing, unless they do they could do a Moon Knight as well, but Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah.
The Super Bowl, we've said this every single year, but it bears repeating. While we are not really, sports ball fans, we're not. I'm not going to be watching the Super Bowl. It reaches an audience that don't normally see these things, and there will be a very big audience of people going, "Oh, there's an Obi-Wan show with Ewan McGregor, and whoever else they decide to reveal is in the show. I need to check that out," because there are a lot of people who just don't keep up with the news on what's coming to streaming service. They'll turn on Netflix and see what's the new tab. They'll turn on Disney Plus, see what's new tab, and that is about the extent of what they see.
Yeah. The only other thing I thought was that unless we get like a combined like Disney Plus trailer with just like maybe like 4 seconds of Kenobi and 4 seconds of She-Hulk, and like a montage of like, here's what's coming to Disney Plus, and do it like that.
It's entirely possible. I think they're going to want at least Obi-Wan to be front and center. No distractions. No, hey, I was over here grabbing a drink. What was on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, some Disney Plus stuff. No, they want an Obi-Wan trailer. I could see them doing two, one with the Obi-Wan and one as a montage with stuff coming up, or also back catalog items mixed in there as well.
Yes, it's going to be interesting to see how that one. A lot of people are kind of like, it's not out on May the 4th. It's out on May the 25th, which is actually the 45th anniversary of the release of the original Star Wars film. Also, that week is Star Wars Celebration taking place in Los Angeles. May the 4th has always been a little bit of a funny one because that was kind of almost like a fan-created event, which Disney lean in on to sell merch. They don't tend to worry too much. It's a little bit of a funny one. It's a lot of people kind of think in their minds, that would make sense. Like it does. And with it being May the 4th on a Wednesday, I could see Bad Batch or something else dropping on that day. But yeah, and also because I said it might also mean now that Moon Knight is the finale could end up on that day, but they've also got Doctor Strange, so it's a little bit tricky that week.
Yeah, they will do something for May the 4th. It just won't be the release of Obi-Wan, but there will be something, and there will probably be a lot of trailers and teasers coming out at that time as well.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. Also this week we had Beauty and the Beast. The series has been put on hold. This is a very interesting one because this is a prequel series to the movie. They announced it back at the Investors Day. They greenlit it. Production was set to start pretty soon. The delay is down to scheduling and like trying to film stuff here in the UK. They don't want to go too far into the winter. Why they thought scheduling to film in the UK in the summer? I mean, we have notoriously bad seasons where most of the summer it can be raining. So I had someone that ran an outdoor cafe for 20 years. I can assure you that the weather is not good in the summer. So that's an issue. So that has an impact on schedules. And obviously with the pandemic, everyone's trying to catch up. There's also other issues maybe with creative. It was then confirmed by both Luke Evans and Josh Gad, who said, sadly, it's true. We tried to make it all work, but under the gun, it wasn't meant to be for now. These characters and stories will live on, but sometimes the best intentions and reality collide and nothing can be done. So that's very much like leaving it open. I think both the guys seem to want to do it. They might have to put it on hold for a year until they can reschedule it. Ironically, Rita Ora was revealed to be in the series on Monday. Literally, it was like they just came out on like, I think it was like first one. Well, hold on, they literally made an announcement like 3 days ago. This seems to be like real last minute.
I want to say there was an announcement even like a week or two ago about another actor or actress joining us too, because that's what struck me about this was like, wait, we've been getting all this news of people being casted, and now you're saying it's delayed. I suspect they may have made that decision like minutes before they posted that it was delayed. So
it's a real it's on one hand, a lot of people have been like, well, we don't need it, it's not needed, it's why did we want this, it's rubbish. And I'm on like, I'll be honest, I think those two were the best thing about the movie. Those were the two, they were both two characters that I liked the most. So I actually would have quite liked, I don't know, it was actually one of like the Disney ones. I was like, I think this could be one of the like guilty pleasure kind of things.
I would definitely put it under guilty pleasure. I definitely fall in the camp of like, this isn't really necessary, especially since Gaston's the villain. We don't really need an origin. You can kind of put it together yourself. But there's a lot of talent involved with that. And I was willing to give it a shot. But we'll talk about more things like that when we get to the review section. Because this idea of why did you pick this story to tell when it is not really necessary has been kind of an underlying theme with Disney for the last decade, maybe. So I mean, some could argue longer, but we'll talk about that.
It's a little bit on the lines of let's stretch out a storyline that really was we'll talk about that one definitely. Also confirmed this week that we're going to be getting Futurama will be returning. I'm going to be getting 20 new episodes. It will be on Hulu in the United States. And then for the rest of the world, we'll be getting it on Disney Plus. So it's going to be coming back. And so for 20 new episodes, one of the most popular series on Disney Plus, at least, this is again the difference of when they start seeing the data coming through from Hulu and Disney Plus and stuff, and can see what's going on with this one. Sounds pretty cool. There is a little bit of an issue going on right now online with the voice of Bender, because apparently there's a bit of a pay dispute. He's not been officially announced as returning because he wants either more money or they just couldn't agree to something. So there's a lot of stuff going on there talking about, he might be somebody else playing it, and then this has just opened up a whole can of worms with, like, because obviously he's one of the most iconic characters, and it's a bit hard not to kind of say he's a main important character when he's the main character in the advert. So it's a very tricky one. I mean, I personally would like to see the main voice back because that's the kind of way, but I think this show's been cancelled more times than anything, but it keeps coming back for more.
Yeah, and I'm kind of mixed on this. Like, I really, really like the first 4 seasons of Futurama, so that was before it canceled the first time. When it returned, it was good. It was still funny. It wasn't nearly as good as the original 4, and just kind of like it's done. Why are we coming back to this? That said, if they got the original cast back, if they've got a good writing team, I'll definitely be watching it. I was kind of hoping they might move on to something else, though.
I suppose it's that thing. There was a quote here from Matt and Groening. It's a true honor to announce that the triumphant return of Futurama one more time before we get cancelled abruptly again. I mean, that's literally the press release along the lines of they're even playing in on that whole idea that this keeps happening. But again, I'm sure the data and they're just finding like these animated classics are just like gold mines on streaming.
Well, particularly The Simpsons and Futurama
And
have
Family
Guy. They have a lot of longevity and a lot of people who just leave them turned on as background noise while they're doing things.
Yeah, I mean, you got to be looking at like Disney, looking at the stats for Disney Plus, and go, The Simpsons are just never ending. So I would not be at all surprised if Futurama is on the shift over to Disney Plus at some point in the future. Yeah, I can't see why they wouldn't want to do that one. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. So that will be returning.
I'm actually surprised they haven't already moved it over to Disney Plus. It would have seemed like a natural fit back when Fox first started getting integrated into it.
I think for me, this is where I keep saying about this, like, Star through the back door of, I think what we're going to end up having is they'll start adding enough content on there that they'll start adding the hubs. And so they don't get Star in that way. They get the hubs.
Mm-hmm.
You get a 20th century hub and go with that and maybe expand it through the back and an ABC hub and do it that way around. So it doesn't look like they're getting, and at the same time, we get like a big expansion of our hubs. It's just my gut of where I'm looking at it going, because Star doesn't really make a lot of sense in the US.
No.
Right, shifting gears now. Let's talk about the Television Critics Association press tour. There was a special event on Monday where they talk about, this was an internal thing. You had to be like a Los Angeles critic. They announced tons of stuff. So I'm going to kind of run through these as quickly as I can because there was a lot of stuff. So from National Geographic, following the success of Welcome to Earth, Will Smith will be back with Pole to Pole. That's not the one with Michael Palin. And he's going to be going from the South Pole to the North Pole, meeting obviously people along the days. He was filming for more than 100 days, and Smith and they kind of document this whole thing for it. Obviously, don't know when that will be arriving, but I'll be honest, it's like, for me, I'm like, cha-ching, sorted. Will Smith traveling, good. Too good to be honest. You could do that show with anybody, and I think I'd probably watch it. I don't know. It's kind of one of those shows that I would just love to watch.
I'm glad to see Will Smith continuing to do these. He's got a lot of name recognition, and it brings a lot of attention to this section of Disney Plus.
Also, I think they did say that Welcome to Earth was their biggest hit they've had. It was a huge hit for them, so they're really happy with it. So that's pretty cool. We're also getting Great Migrations, which is a new, obviously going on about the migrations in search of food and shelter and animals and stuff like that. So that looks pretty cool. Getting Home, which is going to be unprecedented, and it's going to be running for 9 seasons. So they've committed to 9 seasons already, being filmed by National Geographic and BBC as they go on a most ambitious and definitive portrait of life on Earth ever attempted. Production is currently underway on the first 3 seasons, with development committed to 6 more of what will be a cinematic spectacle of natural history across the planet. I mean, and they're going to be going across 5 oceans and 7 continents to reveal the deeper symbolic relationship between all living things. I mean, that's like 9 seasons. Okay, that's pretty. You got some confidence in that.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see who's working on that.
Unless each season's just 1 episode.
Wouldn't be the first time they've done that.
No. We're also getting Lion, which is being put together by Jon Favreau, who they're filming this over like 4 years, and it follows a single pride. It's an intimate and emotional series, so the filmmakers will be using cutting-edge technology to explore the heart-stopping challenges, also known as Lion King 3. That's what I thought. So yeah, so they've obviously I'm guessing this might be. Have they been filming all this stuff for the Lion King movies, and have got like all this footage that they're going to put together, and that's how they get around this 4 years of footage? This is merely being a bit of a cynic.
Yeah, it could also be the other direction, though. You could say, John got so interested in what it's like for the Lions while working on the Lion King live action CGI movie. That he decided he wanted to explore it more, and basically used Disney to fund his expeditions. I mean, we've seen Cameron do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like he makes movies literally because it's like, I want to go visit the Titanic, so we're going to make the Titanic.
More play to them. We're also getting.
I'd do it.
We're getting some more Secrets of. We had Secrets of the Whales last year. They're going to be turning this into a brand new annual multi-part franchise, which collides with Earth Day each year, with James Cameron returning as the executive producer. Each year will focus on one species to fully explore their traits and culture. In 2023, the franchise will present Secrets of the Elephants. And then after that, we'll be getting Secrets of the Octopus. And 2 animals went from one swing to the other, but octopuses are very interesting. So this looks like we've got a new franchise for Earth Day. That's going to be coming for we're talking now, 2024, 2020? Yeah, so we're into the deep ones. Yeah,
I'm not too keen on the idea of like forcing it to be an annual thing. As long as they always have ideas of what they want to focus on, fine. Just so long as they don't end up in a situation where they're like, oh man, we've committed to doing this annually. Let's find an animal, pick an animal. On the other hand,
I think that'll work.
There's literally millions of species on this planet. They're not gonna run out anytime soon.
I think like Secrets of the Rats or Secret of the Housefly, we might start getting a little bit desperate at that point. But could be interesting.
They could do Secret of the Mosquito, and it could just be an hour of them swatting mosquitoes. I would watch that.
We're also getting Sentiment, which is all do maths. Do monkeys do math? Do whales mourn their death? Do bees draw maps? It will show life on all scales: plants, humans, and ecosystems. So that's another new natural history one. We're also getting Supernatural, which is being put together by James Cameron and also going to be narrated by Benedict Cumberbatch, which is going to be coming later this year, and it utilizes the latest scientific innovations and leading-edge filmmaking technology to reveal secret powers and super senses of the world's most extraordinary animals. So this is going to be obviously looking into like what superpowers I'd imagine that animals have, which is cool. We're also getting The Biggest Little Farm. So this is they've already announced that there's going to be a special on Earth Day in April. They're now going to be making an entire series of them following this farm, which is based on a movie that came out before. So again, doing a farm show. I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of interested because I have a problem with watching like Country File and watching farm shows. So I'm a bit like, it'd be interested to see what the difference is with American farms. I mean, obviously pig and cows and stuff, but yeah, it's a nice, easy series to make.
It'll be interesting because from what I understand about this farm is, they're trying to do more like modern farming methods, or not even modern. They're trying to like push what the next modern farming method will be, as opposed to what you normally see if you drive through, the central states, which are literally just cornfield after cornfield after cornfield.
I know when
very different.
I think when we traveled through, I don't know if it was Wisconsin or something. I don't know where it was. It might have been in Dakota or something. And it was like the House of Corn, and it was an entire building just made out of corn. Because it was a big festival. So yeah, I've been through corn country. and just for hours and hours of looking at cornfield to get that feeling at all. We're also getting Beyond Belief with David Blaine. So this is like a magic show, and he's on the hunt for extraordinary people, shamans, magicians, and stuff like that. Last time I saw him, he was hanging in a box above London, above London. So that was quite.
I was gonna say David Blaine's not a name I've heard recently.
No,
I think it's been quite some time since I've seen a David Blaine special. That said,
I was going to say it must have been like it must have been nearly 20 years ago. I saw him in London when I was working there. I remember got like lunch after finishing work and seeing him like hanging in a box for like months.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that one, but either way, these magic shows are these I don't even know what you would call them, honestly, but just shows based around on finding magic talent, quote unquote magical talent. They can either be really interesting or really dull. Now, with Blaine's name attached to it, it probably lead towards the former, but we'll wait to see.
I don't find him the most entertaining of magicians. We're also getting the epic adventures of Gregory. He's a photographer and he's been doing lots of stuff all over the world. And so this season he'll be going to Antarctica to see whales. He's also going to be going to see buffalo hunting with lions in Zambia, and it's a multi-part adventure series going around the world. Sounds pretty cool. Also getting Photographer, which is an intimate documentary series where they get to basically talk about the world's greatest storytellers and artists. Each episode is directed by a different filmmaker who partners with a photographer to tell the story of their life. It's a little bit more less away, imagine, from animals at that point.
Yeah, but it should be interesting as well, especially if we're looking at National Geographic photographers, because those guys are quite frankly insane to get the shots that they do, and the amount of patience they have to get the shots they do.
I always like it on the BBC ones where they do like the diary thing, about 10 minutes at the end of them, where they show you how they made it. I always find that bit really fascinating.
I agree with that. I'm thinking of like I think Deep Blue or the Blue Ocean, that
Blue Planet and stuff.
Blue Planet. That's thank you. They spend the time and they're like, wow, we've been out here for like 3 months and we haven't seen a blue whale, and we really need a blue whale for our shots. And
I've been watching Green Planet, and at the end they ended up showing them building this great big pond with these lilies, and they literally filmed it like near me. This is like, really? Okay. This big jungle, they ended up building a set on a farm in Devon. So it's definitely a bit different. We're also getting, now this one is very different. We're getting a scripted drama series. It's a limited series, and it's about the remarkable story of Met Guys and her husband, Otto Frank, who came to her and asked to hide his family from the Nazis during World War II. So she didn't hesitate, and for the next 2 years, her and her husband and other helpers watched over the 8 souls hiding in their secret annex. And yeah, it's all about they found her diary and they preserved it. This one's like, I was like, hold on a minute. We're getting a drama series set in World War II with like, this is a little bit more older. This is again pushing the boundaries a little bit.
But it's again one of those ones where the contents might be older, but people will probably be more accepting of it because it's a story that we recognize. Obviously, there are lots and lots of stories of people protecting families like this during World War II, keeping them from the Nazis. So while we expect it will probably be more mature, probably brutal at certain points.
Depends how they it might not be
right.
Too.
It might be implied rather than shown. I would prefer it implied rather than shown. But at the same time, if they do decide to show some things, people will probably be more overall more accepting of it because it's actual events and it's stuff that we know happened.
Also, I do believe as well that if we're talking that this one might be a year or two away, because these could be a while off, how much has changed with our earlier discussion of the viewing of there's more adults in Disney Plus. There's much more likely, because I feel like had they dropped like the right stuff now, it might have been better than when they dropped it originally, because there just would have been more adults in Disney Plus. So that one's definitely interesting. I'm looking. That's going to be something to look out for.
It's going to be a tough watch, I suspect, but it'll be very good content to have on it. And
And finally, from the National Geographic front, we're getting We Feed People, which is a documentary all about a chef called Jose Andres and his non-profit World Central Kitchen, who organizes missions and evolution over 12 years. Basically just giving out food, feeding people. This will be dropping onto Disney Plus on May the 27th. So for Memorial Day weekend, it'll be having a small run through the festivals and stuff that's being put together by Ron Howard. So that one is a big one.
Yep. Ron Howard's always doing good and interesting things.
Right.
And yep, should be good.
That's the National Geographic front. Interesting before we jump into the Disney side. Nothing was said about National Geographic Television, the TV channels. And they went a little bit of a discussion on a deadline where the president was like, "Oh, we're still committed to it." You know, and it was just like we've had a lot of stuff to announce today. And like, yeah, no, don't buy that. That's basically all your new slate is going to Disney Plus, isn't it? It's like, I'm like, you can't do a Television Critic Association and announce 13 to 14 projects for Disney Plus exclusive. That's a lot of content.
It is. Even if they are planning on maybe phasing out the TV or the linear channel or working towards it being the second location for these, it will be a long time before any of this happens. But I have to imagine that especially over the last couple of years, the linear viewership has just not been there, especially when Disney Plus just makes it on demand and you don't have to worry about, I really want to do this documentary on this niche little animal over here. We can't put that on at like 7 p.m. No one's going to watch it. So, but you put it on Disney Plus and people will be like, yeah, watch it whenever you want.
I also feel as well the pandemic really helped older people get into streaming. I know, like my parents and my in-laws and stuff, they're all watching much more. They're all watching the apps now. They've all got used to it. So there's I think they've probably had the biggest shift as well with that.
Yeah, my parents aren't older people; they're still very young. So I'm not gonna. No, my mom, obviously, I've mentioned many times, has been watching a lot of Netflix, and she's been loving the South Korean dramas and things like that. So,
yes,
yeah, I don't think she even knew how to turn on Netflix until a couple of years ago. It was either myself or one of my sisters was like, "Oh, let's watch something on Netflix." Oh, we set this up last time we were here, Mom. What? Oh, I didn't know what buttons to push, but now she's got it and she's got her routine going. So.
Yes, let's now shift on to the Disney branded television, aka formerly known as the Disney Channel kind of division, because they kind of rebranded themselves. So we've got an original Disney Plus original movie called Prom Pact, which is all about a girl who is trying to get into Harvard, and then she ends up like taking on a jock and kind of teaches him, and then realizes more to life than just getting into Harvard. It stars Peyton Elizabeth Lee, and it also stars Mayo Man, who you might know from Zombies. So we've got a brand new original movie. We're also getting the Naughty Nine, which is going to be coming to the Disney Channel and Disney Plus. This is a holiday heist movie, which is, you've got to think of it as Ocean's 11 at the North Pole. So that'll be interesting. Interesting again, straight away. Disney Channel and Disney Plus. They are no longer this whole messy. It's getting a lot less messy with this one. They also confirmed Under Wraps 2 is underway for the Disney Channel and Disney Plus as another movie. They also announced a brand new unscripted series called Growing Up, which is being put together by Brie Larson, who you might know as Captain Marvel. It's a groundbreaking hybrid docuseries that explores the challenges, triumphs, and complexities of adolescence through 10 compelling coming-of-age stories, looking at people between like 18 and 20. And each 30-minute episode features one young person or hero and their experience growing up. Kind of feels a little bit like maybe like the superhero project that they had a while ago.
That's what I was thinking of too, which is probably not the greatest thing, but you know.
One of the other series that they announced at the event was a brand new series being created by Jeremy Renner, who you might know as Hawkeye. So this one is an original 4-part series that embraces Jeremy's lifelong passion for giving back to communities around the world by reimagining unique purpose-built vehicles to meet their community needs. He's a massive, great big fan of construction, and he's heavily invested in highly creative content. And this show probably has the best name I think I've ever seen for original one. It's called Renovations. think it's great. I just love it. It's so good. I think it works perfectly.
I didn't get that when I read it. I only just got that when you said it. I was like, oh, renovations with Renner. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That is clever. Because I read it the first time, I'm like, renovated? I guess that's an interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
I get it now. Yeah.
No, that's cool. I mean, this is the thing of the Marvel guys are all getting their own series. Brie Larson's doing one, Hawkeye's doing one, Doctor Strange has got one. You know, every Avenger gets their own TV series on Disney Plus now. But you do stuff, but you also get a non-Disney, a non-Marvel one that you can make up.
I mean, to be honest, it's a good way of going about it too, because they get to keep doing these projects. They don't necessarily have to continue being like Hawkeye or Thor. Well, we know Thor's coming back, but getting them to do this. Well. Yeah, no, that's why I brought him up. He did that Limitless, and you know, I think it's win-win for both sides on that one.
I think as well, like from the creative point of them, I can imagine of like wanting to put your mind into something that's something different and kind of, stretch the mind a bit rather than just doing the same thing over and over again. And it also might help longevity of keeping them around longer, of kind of, we want to do 9 Marvel movies. Well, if we give you, you can do some other projects in the middle to kind of distract you a bit and give you something else to work about. I think that's good. I think that's not a bad thing. It was also confirmed, obviously, we're getting Goosebumps, the series. We're also going to be getting the 3rd season of Secrets of Sulphur Springs. That has been confirmed. So that's, again, Disney Channel and Disney+. Also, The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder, which is coming to Disney Plus on the 23rd of February. We're going to be getting 2 episodes to begin with rather than the 1. So, why not? That's a good thing.
Let's go for it.
We're also getting a brand new... I'll be talking about those 2 episodes next week. Also be getting a brand new Disney Plus original series called Palo, Siento, and the River of Tears, which is based on the very popular book, and it's all about a girl who has relied on hard science and logic to make sense of the world, unlike her mother who believes in magic. But when folklore becomes fact and her best friend goes missing and they try to save her, Pablo has to enter a world of mind-bending monsters and relentless spirits steeped in Latin folklore that define both logic and legend. So that could be different. I mean, again, this is probably aimed a little bit younger. We're also getting some new animated series. So this one is a Disney Junior original series. Obviously, it will arrive on Disney Plus, called Tiny Trailblazers, which is being created with Reese Witherspoon, aimed towards kids. It's all about positive attitudes about the great outdoors and highlight the importance of environmental conservation and wildlife protection. And also Nat Geo is going to be involved in it, and Reese Witherspoon is providing some of the voice for some of the characters. A brand new original Disney Plus original movie called Super Fudge, which is being created by the Russo brothers, who also made the Avengers movies. So this one is all about a kid who basically he's in New York in a cramped apartment, and he's there with his 3-year-old brother Fudge. But Fudge isn't just a problem. He is a tornado, a superstorm, an Arctic bomb of chaos and destruction. And when he runs away, they then kind of run around New York fixing. So this is going to be a new animated movie. So that's pretty cool. They also confirmed that Michelle Yeoh is going to be starring in the Disney Plus original series American Born Chinese. They did announce Rita Ora would be in the Beauty and the Beast series. They also confirmed that Big Shot Season 2 is currently in production, and this one he will return to Westbrook with a new fire, ready to show that his girls basketball teams belong in D2 and that they're still the championship-winning powerhouse coach he always was. So we've got a little bit of an update on that one. Another update on the Crossover, which is a new basketball series that they're working on. David Diggs, who's going to be narrating the series. Doogie Kamealoha MD was confirmed for the 2nd season. High School Musical was season 3. Mighty Ducks season 2 was kind of mentioned. The Mighty Ducks season 2 as well. The Mysterious Benedict Society 2nd season. National Treasure, the new series for that one, they announced that Catherine Zeta-Jones is going to be starring in that series. And then they also just went on about Percy Jackson and the Spiderwick Chronicles. I mean, this is just like, it was just like, the amount of content. They announced so much. And it's like, this is what's happening now. The powerhouses, the studios are in the zone. I mean, these might be years off, but they're really revving up the next wave of Disney Plus content.
Yeah, and it's been a common thing with Disney, where despite this being Disney Plus, it really has felt like the draw has been Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah.
And sure, you get the back catalog of Disney classic movies, maybe the shows that you grew up with, depending on what era that would be from, and things like that. But like original content with the Disney name on it hasn't done all that well. That we've had a couple that we really like them, like the Benedict Society and Big Shot, and then other ones were like, please maybe rethink how you're doing this one. But just the number of things that they announced here, the number of ones that sound very interesting, it's great. So Marvel and Star Wars will continue to dominate, but hopefully, as we move forward, people who sign up to get Obi-Wan or Moon Knight, She-Hulk, etc., will also be like, I'll check out this Spiderwick Chronicles. Obviously, that's years away.
Yeah.
As an example, or Percy Jackson, and so on.
But also as well, I think they're embracing Disney Plus in terms that they're not. I don't think they're quite so rigid on how many episodes they've got to produce, so they can produce better stuff but less of it. So they, it's easy to get like a 6 or 8 episode series off the bat than trying to do a 22 season, and it's and it's a stronger story. The budgets can be less. They can attract actors. I think it's a lot. You've really noticed this over the last 10 plus years of. There was a time, and it's hard I bet there'll be people that don't quite remember that. Once an actor went into movies, they never went back to television. It was deemed an insult to go. They just never. Once you made the move to movies, you never went back to. But limited series have just like exploded into the idea of and I think a lot of certain actors have said that they have to do limited series because they're not making the movies the way they used to.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember the name of the show, but there was a Fox like supernatural procedural, and it had Kevin Bacon back in the day, and that was a huge deal because like Kevin Bacon's doing a television series on regular TV, and then kind of burst the floodgates, as it were, and then you start seeing it on Netflix where big name actors would start doing things like that. And now it's just normal. It's like, oh yeah, sure. You sign up Jeremy Renner. He's got. The Avengers, and we'll throw him into a Hawkeye show. Obviously, that was not the plan back in 2012, but it's become more normal, and I am 100% behind it. Let's blur the line.
You never would have thought someone like Reese Witherspoon or Nicole Kidman would just be pretty much just be doing just TV shows, because ultimately those movies are just not there anymore and not pulling in an audience, but they're pulling in the audience on TV in huge numbers. It is crazy. But I literally was there like, this was like Disney Plus had a day at the TCA free about 2 weeks ago and did like 3 movies. I think it was Boba Fett, Loud Family, and something else. I'm like, it was a bit pathetic. It wasn't really worth the effort. And then they came out here at this event and it's like, here's a series. It was just like, could you guys not have like spread this out? Could you not have had a day each? It felt a little bit like, I know I was like, well, this is way too much here. It's like this is like Disney Plus Day. It was like like 25 to 30 series being announced on one day, but it didn't get the attention that Disney. If Disney Plus is so, it would just put up the logos. This would have been a big Disney Plus day if they put all this stuff out like that.
Yeah, I suspect this is more along the lines of getting the names out there now, so that they can start the actual run-ups to them. So like you said, Super Bowl is coming up. It'll be tomorrow when you guys hear this, for the most part, and we expect that there'll be lots of information coming out there. And then over the next several months, the stuff that is announced here, we will start to get more and more news. So then we already knew Mighty Ducks and such. We're getting a second season, but as the news starts to roll out, it won't be a shock. It's like, no, we announced it over here. It's been confirmed. Now here's casting details. Here's who's replacing Emilio Estevez, and so on and so forth. I know they've already announced who it is, but
I think we're really going to see, like, I mean, they have said that by the end of this year, you can see like 20th Television and FX and Disney and Searchlight and, National, they're all just churning content for the streaming platform. They're spending billions of content. It's like, this is why they wanted 20th Century, was to have the capacity to make all these movies and all these shows. I mean, I was sitting there going, wow, the days, I mean, it would still be there going, can get more than one series out at once, it'd be nice, but there is still plenty of stuff dropping. But yeah, so that was the news, really. Like I said, it was a really, and there was still a lot of stuff I didn't even mention. It's just been a real heavy week for news.
A lot of good news, and a lot of news for various watcher types. So this wasn't like Star Wars Day where we only focusing on people who watch Star Wars. There is stuff for kids, there's stuff for adults, there's stuff for adults to watch with their kids. It's all across the board.
The only thing that got me with this one is because we were doing the announcements and like saying they've just announced like 30 projects today, and the first comment is like, "Where's the Kenobi trailer? Where's the Star Wars stuff?" It's like, this isn't their announcements. I've like, and it's that kind of thing. Like, here's 20 to 30 new things coming, but where's the one? And then it's the usual. Where's House of Mouse kind of thing? And it's just right. And it's just like they're spending a fortune on content. There is just so much stuff that they're making. But yeah, I was impressed. I thought this week was like, okay, we're ending the week on, I think, a high in terms of a news announcements.
Sorry, that got me thinking. Like, Nintendo had a direct this past week too, and they announced a number of things. I'm like, oh, that sounds interesting. I kind of check that out. And of course, you go online and all the come on. Where was Breath of the Wild 2? Where's Legend of Zelda? I'm like, seriously? Hold on. My cat is about to make a mistake. This might be entertaining. I know you guys can't see it. She's trying to jump up on a screen. She does not know the screen is only like an inch thick. She gave up. She gave up. Sorry.
Crash. That's good. Yeah. Right. So before we go on to the review for the day, let's do a bit of housekeeping. If you haven't already done so, you can support us on Patreon or YouTube channel members. You can support us from as little as $2 a month. And I just want to say a big thank you to our supporters of the gold and diamond and platinum level. So a big thank you to Toku Guy, Adam, Raphael, Diona, J Blue, Dana, Ricky, Dave, Mohammed. We've also got Ben, My VCS Still Works, Bina, Joshua, Dawn, Martin, Jeremy, and Sarah. And also want to be a big thank you also to Lauren, The Juice, Darren, Daniel, Cody. We've got Andrew, Aero, Red Marsman, Caleb, Jacob, Elliot, Andrew, and also a huge thank you to Sarah for your support at the top tier. Thank you so much. Again, we'll be live on tomorrow for another Q&A. So all the patrons are putting in their questions and stuff for this week. A lot of them this week, unsurprisingly. There'll be a lot of stuff.
I'm shocked.
Yes. With all the Netflix stuff and the Hulu stuff, there's been a lot of... Yeah.
Normally don't mention it, but it's probably worth pointing out that you will be shortening questions that are very long, and I think each person's only allowed 3 questions is the current limit.
It's not so much that, it's just the fact that there's a limit. If there's a lot of questions, I can just reduce them just a little bit. It was merely along the lines of just to help with timing. If there's enough of them, I might even have to go a little bit earlier, but depends on what it is. So let's now talk the Book of Boba Fett. So this is the finale. We're gonna this will be probably broad line a whole show kind of overview. Full spoilers, but it's been out 4 days, so that's kind of been long enough. So what did you think of the finale?
It had some highlights, and it was, I guess, a satisfying ending to the series as much as you can help, but it did also, for me at least, highlight a number of the problems with the series. We'll come back in a second. How did you feel about it?
I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was a fun, explosive, action-packed episode with lots of fighting, lots of things going on. And generally, as a whole, it did what I thought it was going to do. You could see everything coming a mile away because it was just really quite, really? I mean, you've got hardly any guys to defend yourself, and you've spread yourself so thin. Why not, put this person here and put this person... You've not got enough people to do this. One guy on his own in the middle of the street. Okay, so he's a massive Wookiee that can kick everyone's butt. But yeah, putting the 2 pigs out in the spaceport, they weren't really going to do a lot. I'm sure you could have paid them off and they could have ran away. So that was one issue. There was some parts of it I loved. I mean, I loved the fact of bringing the droids in to attack, to fight them. It did get a little bit on those. Would you guys stop shooting at it? It's not working. It was getting to the point why? What are you doing? This is pointless. I mean, I at least liked when like they tried to use the dark saber to get in, but then I always thought, well, sure, didn't the Grundons used to just walk right through them?
Yeah. Well, the Gungans had their own shield.
Yeah.
I don't think they walked through the
No, the
through the
droids
droid
walk
shields.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the thing with that fight was it was really cool when it started. Like
Yeah.
you get the droids, and you're like, oh, this is going to be amazing. And then as the fight keeps drawing on, yeah, on the one hand, you've got them just ineffectively shooting at the shields, and you're like, okay, maybe try something different. On the other hand, the droids didn't do anything. They were shooting everything, and there's explosions everywhere, but nobody's getting hurt.
Yeah.
Nobody's in any danger at any point. We're told they're in danger, but it never
Yeah.
felt like they were in danger. And I think that's one of the
And like Black K got like shot so many times, it was like it didn't mean anything.
yeah, that there was certainly that, and it's not just him. Both Mandalorian and Boba Fett, they're just sitting in the middle of the road, getting shot dozens of times each, and it's not doing anything.
It's a
And
little bit. It's like I know they've got the Mandalorian armor, but it's like, but it's only in the key places. They
Yeah, I
take
know,
out
it's
the
like
elbow or the knee, or I mean, I did love the knee, the rocket out the knees. I thought that was quite fun.
I mean, he did that back in the Mandalorian season 2, and it was good to see that. But it's like you've got more tricks. Why aren't you using those?
Yeah.
But
I love the spin camera when they're like fighting together. I did like that.
no,
Yeah,
there were definitely some very cool action sequences in there, particularly when we were looking at
yeah,
Boba Fett and Mandalorian during that part of the siege. Uh, it just became more of a problem, more apparent of a problem when it's like the bad guys really aren't doing anything. We're being told they're this huge threat, but nobody's getting hurt except for a random like mod person here and there.
yeah. That didn't really care about that.
No.
There was other issues. I really enjoyed seeing Cad Bane. I was a bit disappointed they killed him off. I was a bit, but apparently he was like 80, 90 years old at that point. Of course, they didn't really portray that very well. It was only really a Google search that kind of gave me that news. They mentioned, "Oh, I'm an old man now," but of course, you can't see it on his face because it's not grey or anything. Yeah,
I was actually legitimately thinking, like, what's the lifespan of your species? Because you're talking to Boba Fett like Boba Fett's a really old man. I'm like, you were old when Boba Fett was a kid.
yeah.
How old are you? Because he was the mentor to Boba Fett. I will agree. I'm disappointed they killed him off, but I also understand it is the closure of that storyline. That's not a storyline you really get in Boba Fett, but it is through Clone Wars a little. I don't think he showed up in Rebels, but they also showed him in Bad Batch. He might have made an appearance or two in Rebels. Point being, this is a very, very long storyline, and it is the logical conclusion of the storyline. But
my only worry is like if they introduce them like in Andor or Orlando or something, then it's always going to be like, well, yeah, but we've seen you die. Like your threat level as a bad guy, and I will refer this back to being wrestling of just like you took his heat away. You took him being a baddie by killing him off. He's no longer a threat because you've made him look weak. And I mean, he looked pretty. I mean, he did look great in it. And obviously, if you're a fan of the comic book or the cartoons, you know who he is. But like to my parent or my dad who's watching this, he wouldn't known who he was. So he would have just been this guy who turned up, and the next week he's dead. So
yeah,
that's it.
That's definitely a thing. But this was obviously meant as a fan nod. This was meant, along with Black K. This was, you know who he is. But if you don't know who he is, at least the design is really cool, and you get that he's the bad guy, right? I think my main issue with it is less that it's the end of his story, and if they try to use him in other stuff before this, like you said, it kind of takes a little of the heat away. The main problem is we really need a bad guy that crosses through these series. This has been the common problem with Marvel since the beginning, since Iron Man 1, where you keep killing the bad guys. You need, the Spectre organization going from James Bond, or you need the person who can sit there and cackle and go, next time I'll get you. Obviously, don't ham it up quite that much. But right now, Star Wars doesn't have it. Marvel might be getting it with Dreyfus's character that we've seen pop up in a couple of series here and there. Obviously, Kang, the one who lived, is still, or That was Harry Potter. But they're starting to set up the next ones. But even now, Shang-Chi, bad guy is dead.
Yeah.
Black Widow, the bad guy is dead. Spider-Man, all the bad guys are sent back to their home dimensions, kind of thing. That there is no big bad. And if Star Wars is going to be this Mando verse, right?
Yeah.
Mandalorian, Boba Fett, probably Ahsoka, and the rumored Bo-Katan series are all really just one big series. They need a bad guy that they can all follow. Maybe it'll be Thrawn.
Yeah,
but
it's also, I think, because they've lost the Empire. There's like no big one. It would have been nice to see something maybe happen with the twins, the Jabba twins. That might have been a way of kind of extending that out a bit. And that's, I don't know. It's like the way that like Fennec obviously took out everybody at the end. It was like, that's great, but it would have been better to have had them introduce the villain then, of like they are working for this big villain. And I mean, I like the fact that Fennec at least took them out. But it was a bit like, so is this group dead, or is that the end of them, or there's so many? But they were so vanilla. You could have put that boss out and put him in anyone, and you wouldn't have known who he was.
Yeah, no, they did not set them up properly at all. And I think this kind of leads into the second problem that I had with Boba Fett as an overall series, all 7 episodes. You've got 7 episodes, and it still feels way bloated, but also not detailed at all. Yeah. Like you've got this odd contradiction of these scenes that just go on forever, but make no point at all. Or they make one point in a 20-minute scene. And at the same time, you've got these villains who you're like, I don't even know your names. I don't know what species you are. You're part of a syndicate. That is your villain status. The mayor turns out to be like, you just sit over there and eventually you'll die. They spent all this time building up like Baby Yoda being taught by Luke, and then building the N1 starfighter in episode 5 for Mando. It's like you could have spent this time maybe making me understand why I care about the villains.
Well, also like building up Cad Bane, they could have also spent a little bit more time building up like other chapters of maybe Boba's life, when he was younger, the events. It's hard. I mean, it feels like the whole time he was running around the sand of like, well, what was the point? Okay, so we had the one scene where he was like, Cad was just like, hey, they fooled you. That was all a play. And I'm like, great. But that really, you didn't need as 3 hours for that.
Exactly.
It was done and dusted. I don't know. It's like, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy the show, and I enjoyed watching every episode, and I thought it was a solid, but it's that thing of like, yeah, this is definitely the worst of the 3 seasons we've seen so far, because again, episode 5 and 6 were really good because they were just Mando episodes. And that they would have been a good way of we could have just done that in season 3. We would have had probably had some more build up to that big final, because it felt like we, building up to it, chuck him in the sand for 2 weeks, and then like it was going to send you off to Mando for 2 weeks, and now we're doing this big. I mean, you knew the Rancor was coming in. I mean,
that was a cool scene though.
I enjoyed it. I really didn't like it when he went into King Kong mode. It was there was one scene that was like, yeah, okay, you're really doing King Kong, and then like I wasn't a fan of them doing the Grogu thing in this episode. I liked the scene of him curl up together and all the rest of it, but I would have loved the choice to have been played out properly, and rather than him just R2 bringing him back and okay, you're now together, onwards we go. And it was like, because ultimately we know that Grogu can't stay with Luke, because what Luke was building on that thing ends up with the Knights of Ren destroying them all. We know that. Yeah, it's
taking the heat out of it.
You've got to kind of. Grogu needs to be saved by going away from Luke, but it would have been nice to have maybe them had a little bit more time together.
To be honest, we could do an entire essay on what is wrong with the Luke sequences in episode 6. Not even just like within.
I wasn't too bad on them. I wasn't too bad.
No. I'm not talking about like the way they were filmed or anything like that, but the problems that they raise in terms of long-term continuity between Luke and Ahsoka apparently being besties. What you were talking about with Baby Yoda. He can't be here, so where is he, etc. Anyway, that's not the discussion for this week. You mentioned, we saw everything coming miles away. I do want to a little mea culpa. I was certain that those Tuscans were going to show up in the end, like led by the little kid, and they did not. So I will own that. I would have actually liked that to happen because, as you mentioned, the only throwback to the Tuscan storyline is Cad Bane going, haha, you thought they were killed by these dudes, but it was really by these dudes, which for one didn't even make sense. Like, Cad, you weren't involved with that. Why are you taunting him with it? You're an idiot. And two, it's like, okay, so you literally spent 4 episodes setting up a plot that the entire point was that it would cause Boba to stab Cad in a fury.
Is, like, this is the problem with it. You have spaceships.
Yeah.
You don't need to go through the desert. You fly up and go down the desert. You don't need to go through the desert running the spies because you've got spaceships. It's like this is not where if like we don't need the desert. We don't have no need for the desert. You can just go around the desert. It's like when was it the sheriff turns up and goes, what are you doing in my town? Well, why not just do this like in space or in the ice cap or something?
I'll give them that one though. That's definitely a rule of cool kind of exception where it's like, yeah, logically this doesn't make even the slightest bit of sense. Why you just really wanted to do a train heist in your Mandalorian show?
We did one in Solo, so it's like we didn't need it again.
That's true. That said, I'll give him a little leeway on that because as much as you may complain legitimately about like how everyone turned into snipers in that train, like I will hit this guy going like 400 kilometers per hour with pinpoint precision. Like,
well, I know I was trying to use the sniper last night in Fortnite, and I wasn't getting anywhere.
Well, your first mistake. No,
I got the Boba Fett outfit for I was testing it.
I was gonna say they added Boba Fett, right?
Yeah, they got Boba Fett, Fennec, and Black K. They got added this week. So I was like, you know what? I think I might just kind of have a bit of a dabble. I haven't been in it for months, but I thought that it got me. See, it's like new skins, buy it. It's like I've got all these skins. I never play the game. I spent £100 on skins on Fortnite, and I've barely played it.
I have a friend who's probably got literally like 40 skins in Fortnite. They almost never play the game, but they use it as like a photography studio where you've got like Boba Fett standing next to Harley Quinn because he'll get his friends to play and you'll just like he created this area where they just take pictures of all these like cool fandoms. Like, all right, cool, go for it. You're having a lot of fun with it. It's definitely not what the game was meant for, but
but it's just I think it's just that thing of looking back at Boba Fett and I'm going, it was fun, but it was flawed a lot. There was a lot of flaws of it. I think I do feel like had we not had Mando involved, it would have really have tanked. I think like the audience was like turning on it, and then Mando kind of saved
it. There is an aspect to it, but I would also disagree that it really was a matter of Boba Fett or Mando. It's just that the storytelling in the Mando story, 2 episodes, or at least the episode 5, the core Mando episode, was just so much better quality. It wasn't inherently that it was Mando. It's that particular episode, it had a structure. The world felt lived in. There were things that you were following. You actually cared about what was going on.
But also, you didn't know where they were going. I think that's the problem with these like rehashes of like you're going to tell us a story of how he got out, in the sand, but we already know he got out. So this is that kind of problem of telling stories which just generally just didn't need to be told, and filling it. It's like it just wasn't an interesting side effect. It just wasn't interesting enough. Of he became a friend with all the Tuscans. They could have done that in an episode and just had. I know it might have been a bit more stronger by the way they did it, but it felt a little bit like 3 episodes of just him making friends with the Tuscans just seemed, and it ultimately didn't really go anywhere. And that's the problem.
That is the thing. There are so many storylines in here that just don't have a proper payoff or a satisfying payoff. So you've got the Tuscans. That's the obvious one. What was with him needing the bacta tank for like the first 4 episodes in the modern? Obviously, it's used as he's going to go into a dream sequence and remember the Tuscan time. But it's like, literally, what was the disease?
It was just. I think it was just from the damage from the.
That was my assumption. He took some long-term damage from being in the Sarlacc pit, but it's like, okay. And then one episode, he's like, yep, all right, I'm cleared. I'm fully healed. I'm like, okay, so what did that do for you?
I think I would have liked just maybe one of those one of the episodes of just have spent a little bit more building up the spice merchants, building up the problems with it. I mean, there's this whole scene with like Mando and Boba like talking about the fact that they didn't actually make the right choice. Yeah, they were a lot smarter than you, really. And it's just like, well, yeah, you've made some really bad choices, just one after another. And Mando going, well, we fight. And I like the fact that Boba kind of going, you believe in all that stuff, and like not really getting it. And yeah, it's like it is hard because it's like I really enjoyed the series, but I also there's a lot of flaws in it. And it's not like I'm sitting, not and I think there's that thing of like it's easy to pick at flaws, but there's a lot of fun stuff in it. Like I said, but it was just it would go good and it would just do something that you'd be like, I didn't like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's an odd one because I feel like we got to the end of the series. I'm like, okay, so Mando and Grogu are back together, and Boba Fett's in charge of the palace, which is exactly where we started the episode.
Yeah, that is really kind of drilling down to the point of it. It was they didn't have a story to tell. They wanted a Boba Fett series. Understandably, Boba Fett's an exceptionally popular character, and I'm sure they wanted to play around with it themselves from the writer perspective. But when you get down to it, it's like you didn't even introduce the villain until episode 6 in Cad Bane. And Cad Bane's not even a real villain. He's just a henchman. So you never properly introduced a villain. There are so many scenes which are just, you could have done this in 5 minutes, and it probably would have been better if you had done this in 5 minutes. We don't need 20 minutes of Luke training Baby Yoda, especially in the series that's not even Baby Yoda's. You don't need 3 episodes of him wandering around with the Tuskens. You don't need to spend all this time. And that's why you end up with a series where it's only 7 episodes long, and yet it feels exceptionally bloated with a whole bunch of just unnecessary stuff.
Side quests.
not even side quests. Literally, it's just like, it's the campfire sequence.
Yeah.
You're playing your RPG game, and you've done your quest, you've done the side quest, and now you're just sitting at the campfire talking about it, and the cutscene just keeps going. You're like, I want to get to the next quest.
Reminds me of playing The Witcher. That did.
That's what I was thinking of. I didn't want to name it specifically, but there are other examples. There are plenty of games where you're just like, why are we sitting around a campfire talking about literally nothing? And this is time they could have spent to give us reason to care about the conflict. They could have spent, you don't want to do the villains? Fine. Spend some more time with Cobb. Why do we care that Cobb is now going to be turned into RoboCop at the end of the series? It's like, I only care about Cobb because he's played by an actor that I really like. Honestly, I know nothing about the character other than that. And okay, why do I care about the mod people, the little kids who are modifying? It's like, other than that one plot point where they are who saved Fennec in the past, it's like, you characters are completely uninteresting, and also I don't even understand what the heck you're doing here. So
yeah, it's a bit of an odd one. I mean, there's definitely going to be this is not a series I think I would go back and, I mean, to be honest, it's a bit like just watch episode 4, 5, and 6. Yeah,
just 5.
Yeah, I wasn't too bad with the Gregory stuff, but
the Baby Yoda training stuff was useful. It's just, it went on. This is like the 3rd time I've mentioned it, so I'm going a little too long on it at this point. But it just kept going, and it should have been a much shorter sequence. They got to get the point across.
Right. On that note, let us know what you thought of the Book of Boba Fett. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Remember, as usual, you can go check us out over at what's on at disneyplus.com. You can find us on all the different audio video platforms. Subscribe, join our Facebook group. And we'll be back next week with a new episode. We'll be talking about all of next week's content. I'm just trying to think what we've got.
I think The Kingsman is dropping on Hulu. You saw that because that dropped over there this week.
Yes.
And Snowdrop's episode 1 dropped this week. I know you weren't keen on it.
They dropped the whole season. They dropped the whole season.
Yes, and it's very, very long. So I've only watched the first episode.
Yeah, I managed about 5 minutes.
Like I said, it did not grab you. I'll talk about at least the first and second episode next week, but we won't dedicate too much time.
Yeah, I will try and watch an episode. It was only because I need these things dubbed. to me to sit down and watch a TV series like this with just subtitles, I have to be really like, I have to almost skid like that's like I have to sit there and watch it. Whereas if it was on with dubbed, I could be working in the background doing, and I would have watched probably multiple episodes that way and kind of listened to it rather than. And then dubbing doesn't really matter because you can kind of you're not really focused on it, because I found that with quite a few of the Korean ones, and Money Heist, you can kind of second screen it because you don't need to watch it fully. But nevertheless, on that note, guys,
we'll talk about it next week.
Yes, see you guys later. Later. Bye.
Later.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.